So yeah, good evening, everyone. Trust all of you are doing well and staying safe in today's time. My name is Bharat, and I head community for Masai School. So welcome to today's webinar on crack the code, your roadmap to tech placements. This is part of the bi-weekly series that we are doing where we are looking to engage and help the student community primarily. So great to have close to 186 people over here. Also, we have Prabhanjan, who is the keynote speaker for today's session. I will introduce him briefly, in a couple of minutes. But before that, it's wonderful seeing all of you here. I'm sure a lot of you are going to start your tech career in a few years or months, and we hope the session gives you some perspective and direction for the same. Quick introduction about Masai School. We are a 21st century coding school based in Bangalore. We upskill tech aspirants in full stack web and Android development with zero upfront fees and allowing students to only pay after they get a job of 5 LPA and above. I'm sure this would sound interesting, and this is how Masai School also functions. So we believe in investing in our students rather than the other way around. So there is no upfront fees, for you to study at Masai, and we only charge you when you get a job of 5 LP and above. Some statistics that will help you understand the kind of impact that we have created in the space. We just finished 2 years of impact, last month. And in the 2 years of our existence, we have close to 92% of our graduates across 6 cohorts that have been placed at an average CTC of 6.81 and above. And 60% of our students, who study with us come with a non-computer science or computer application background, something we are extremely proud about. So we have an FSWD, full stack web development part-time program that we launched a couple of months back for college going students like you who would like to upskill themselves and also who aspire to work in product companies. So great to see, right now 224 people over here with us. And, it would be interesting to understand where are you guys joining from? If you could just use the chat option and put across the city you are joining from. I would love, we both, Pravanjana and I would love to know, where are you guys joining from? So just click the chat button and start putting the city you guys are coming from. Udupi, Bangalore. Guys, you can start using the chat option to put the cities you are joining from. We would love to understand where all of you are like joining from today. Trichy. Hubli. Okay. I think South has been like sort of like leading. Calcutta, Bombay, Jaipur, Gwalior. Tirupati, interesting. Rajasthan, Trivandrum, interesting. Great. I think we have been able to, Hyderabad, Tirupati. I think a lot of southern representation, but I also see people representing from other corners of the country. So welcome, guys. Let me now move into introducing our keynote speaker. Prabhanjan, who's going to be spending next 30-35 minutes, sharing some of his learnings with all of you.
Hello.
So Prabhanjan primarily, he's a full stack developer with 4 years of experience in industry. Currently, he's working as a curriculum instructor at Masai. He's an open source developer and a technical speaker. He loves teaching computer science subjects, web development, programming languages, etc. And he's been a very key member, who has been doing a lot of workshops for aspiring developers every Saturday. So with this, welcome Prabhanjan. Thanks for doing this session. And before I hand it over to you, some ground ground rules, everyone. Please use the Q&A box to post your questions. We will take them at the end, or the relevant ones as we kind of like go. We'll have certain polls coming from time to time, so ensure you guys are engaging and participating in those polls. Also, there are two interesting things that I'll be sharing right at the end of the session. So, just stick around. Something that would be useful for all of you. So with this, let's move and kickstart the event today. So Prabhanjan, over to you from here. You could take some time to set context in terms of how the next 35 minutes are going to look like, and then we can just jump into the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Bharat. I'm really excited. We have almost 270 people here. I'm glad to see so many people are really interested in these kind of topics. So yeah, just to set the context, the thing that we are going to talk about today is your roadmap to your tech placements. And I'm sure a lot of you want to be an aspiring developer. A lot of you want to have a job in not just Google and Facebook. That's just like two companies' name. Okay, your dream job can be in any company. I'm doing my dream job here in Masai, which is teaching. So you can find it. You can find your own dream job with these set of topics that I have created for you. I just hope they help you out. So make sure to stick around. Make sure to ask your questions, ask your doubts. I'll be happy to solve them for you. And without any further ado, I'll just move on to my presentation. So let me just share my screen. Yeah, I think I'm on slide 7. That's okay. Yeah, so before starting the presentation itself, we have our first poll. Can you just check out one window will pop up on your screen? Can you just put any? It will look like this. So can you just put your option that which fits you? Like what defines you? Are you from computer science background or non-computer science background? You'll just have 1 minute to answer the poll. So make sure to answer these questions. Okay. 86% voted. Okay, time is about to end. I hope everyone is answered. Yeah. So guys, do you see one? I think the poll are on your the results on your screen. If you can see, 41% students are from non-tech background, and this is not a small amount. Okay, so becoming a computer science that defines like becoming a tech employee. You don't need to be go through the entire hurdle of 4 years of BTech and again 2 years of masters and all those things, and then again ultimately I have friends who worked on so many who went through all these things, and ultimately they are now working on filling out the Excel sheets and all. But that's not really the web dev jobs. And this is exactly what we do at Masai. So we'll talk about it more. But the point that I was trying, the point here was, you can be from any background. Doesn't matter. You don't have to have a BTech degree in computer science. You can very well be a law student or art students, and you can still get a job in tech. Okay, all you need to follow is a fixed set of rules for you, and if you stick to those rules, that routine, I'll assure you, no matter which background you are from, as long as you are following those rules, you'll get your dream tech job easily, Okay, and how to get that? So yeah, this is what the entire presentation is about. So yeah, everyone is excited. Can we have yes in chat if you're excited? How many of you are really excited? Yes, I see 30s, 40s, 50s. Okay, count is increasing. 70, nice. That's the energy. Okay, so let's hope we have the same energy till the end of next half an hour. And okay, let's move on to it. So how to crack any tech interview. So before going to I'll just set the context here. I'll be going through my points. First, I'll be telling you what is a tech job and all. What is a job? Daily life of a developer looks like. And that after that, I'll tell you about the 3 points that I have created for you, which help you in your journey to your tech placement. Okay, so we'll talk about them in details as well. So first thing that I wanted to talk is what exactly is a developer. Okay, half of the time, I mean, if what the first thing that comes to your mind is a developer is like sitting in multi-monitor room, and LEDs are blinking everywhere, and he is typing at the speed of 100 words per minute, and suddenly he says, I'm in. That's not really a web developer. That's a really small portion of web developer. Hacking and security is really small portion. You won't trust me. The developer's job is really big. Okay, anything that comes to your mind, if it is being run by any software that is coded by a developer, it could be anything. It's not just website or mobile apps. It could be gaming. It could be your operating system. It could be your washing machine as well. If you have any smart devices, okay, smart devices, they need some software to run. And this is where the job of developer comes into the picture. Developer is the guy who will be coding these set of rules, which will define how that smart fridge will run. Okay, so developers is not someone who is just developing websites or just hacking into things. Can be literally anything. Okay, to get this job of a developer, the first thing, the biggest hurdle we call it, the mountain, is the interview itself. And interviews are a big fear, but it's not really that hard to crack. You just have to be calm and analyze the situation, what is going on at the interviews itself. Okay, the first point that in any interviews, anyone that asks you, okay, the topics are like two. I have divided this topic into 2 parts: the expected and unexpected. The expecteds are nothing but why lose on points that are that you can get easily, right? So think about it as free of cost. They are just out there. You just have to go there and take it. These points, things like self-introduction. This is the first question that anyone will ask you in your any interview. Okay, there is no other. There is no exception to this question. If you fail to explain yourself, there won't be any next further questions. If you can't explain yourself, how are you going to explain the technologies that you're going to be building your software on, right? So think about these questions thoroughly. Think about the expected, the questions that you're going to give. If you're appearing for a web developer interview, he's most probably not going to ask you who is the president of USA, right? Not GK questions, at least not in the tech interview, maybe in the aptitude, I guess. But these points, they just prepare yourself for the expected questions and expected scenarios. And here show off is the key. Whenever you're not just explaining yourself, you're in appearing for an interview, do not hesitate to show off the things that you have worked on before. If you have created some small tool, tell them, I have created this very small tool. It may be a small thing for them. It's a big thing for you. Be proud of it. If you have learned some new tools, technologies, it may be like the interviewer doesn't know about that technology. He'll be glad to hear that from you. So show off. Okay, learn about the new news articles, technologies. Read the blogs, posts. And it doesn't take that much time. You don't have to spend like an entire day reading blogs. Like, how much time do you think reading a blog will take? 5 minutes max. So but it will help you. Once you read a blog, you'll have that memory in your mind that, okay, this is how it is. I read that blog about some new tool and it works like that way, blah, blah, blah. Happens to be like interviewer is also interested in that technology. It gives you an added advantage. These are nothing but your expected points that you can just quickly grasp. Know more about company. So a lot of time, this is a big mistake many of you do. You don't, whenever you appear for an interview, you don't know about the company itself, what they work on. If you don't know about the company, if HR is asking you, do you know about us? And you say no, it immediately gives a impression that you're not interested in the company, you're just interested in the job. Why would anyone hire you if you're just, if you're not interested in the company itself? If you're not interested in the work they're doing? Make sense? So think about, think about these points before appearing for any interviews. Okay, these were the expected parts. Next we have the unexpected. I think we had a poll here. Do we have a poll, Shiv? I forgot, I don't remember. If we have, we can launch it. I'll give you a minute.
Yes.
Sure. So yeah. Okay. Okay. This is the next, I think. Okay. This was for the next slide. I'll talk about it later. So the question is, how important do you think the data structures and algorithm? DS stands for data structures. Okay. In tech interviews. So 4% students are thinking it's not important. Meanwhile, while you're answering, I'll just move on to the next slide. And I'll talk about it. I'll have this poll open until I reach the next slide. Okay. Yeah, so the expected part was fine, but what about the unexpected things? Nothing goes as planned, right? Nothing goes. If you have planned for something, it's okay. The unexpected cases are gonna be bound to happen. You can't avoid the unexpected parts. This happened with me. I'll tell you an example. I was a web developer. When I started, it was a thing about like 3 or 4 years ago. And I appeared for an interview as a front-end developer in a company. But what happened is I cleared the tech round. It was really fine. But when I went to CTO round, like CTO just wanted to maybe know me in better depth or so. He asked me how to launch a thread, how to fork a thread in operating system. And I got panicked. As a front-end developer, I have really no idea how to fork a thread. I don't know about it. And in that panic, I really lost that interview. But this could be avoided if I just had stayed calm. Unexpected things are gonna happen. It's okay. They tend to happen. What you need to do is, if you don't know the answer, you can tell them, I don't know it yet. That yet is important. If you don't know it, you can go ahead and work on those parts that you failed to answer in the questions. Okay, I am not interested in it or something like that. This question won't work ever. You tell them that I am not familiar with it yet. Give the positive vibe to the interviewer. Like, I'll be really glad to look into it. What does it do? Ask them. So asking questions is a really important thing. If he's asking you some technology that you don't know, you can just say that I haven't really looked into it. May I know a bit more about it, just in case I have it in my memory somewhere, it clicks again, right? So do make sure to ask the questions back. Do not just stay calm. If someone says do you have any questions for me? It's just impossible that you don't have questions. Maybe you are just being paranoid about asking the questions, but do not stay calm. See, I'll tell you about the questions example. Do you know, if you are appearing for an interview, do you know how many people work in the company? Do you know what the CTC you'll be getting? Do you know how large is the company's tech team? Do you know what the technologies, apart from the technology that you are appearing, the company uses? Do you know, like, if they have the facility to transition from one tech department to other tech department? Things like that. They do matter in any interview. They express that you are a team, part of a team. You are curious. So these are the parts that unexpectedly you need to work on. Stay calm whenever any such question happens. And ultimately, you see, there is no one single rule. There is no one single what do we call it? There is no one single equation for, getting any interviews cracked. You can't just read a list of 13, 14 points and, just tomorrow I'll be appearing for Google and I'll crack it. That doesn't work. You have to practice it so many number of times, practice, fail, rise, repeat again and again. Okay. Practice is the only key. You can't read a book about swimming. You can't memorize the book about how to swim and then dive into a water and suddenly expect that, hey, I know everything about swimming and you should be able to just, pedal your way across the water. That doesn't work. That won't ever work. So practice, you have to, stand in front of mirror, ask your friend to practice again and again. Like, hey, how do I do that? Hey, how do I do that? Am I doing this right? Take a feedback from them. Ask your parents, brother, anyone. You have to practice it a lot. Because practicing will help you, going through these expected and unexpected scenarios multiple number of times. And when you go through these scenarios, a lot of times, what happens is you become familiar with them. You get an idea of what exactly an interviewer is expecting from me from these questions, because I practice it like 10 number of times. I know how to appear for it. Okay, so that was most about the interview part. Now coming back to my previous poll, I think it was open and we saw the result of that poll. Okay, the 5% are 12 people are saying that the question was, how important do you think data structures and algorithms are in a tech interview? 248 of how many present, 95% of you are right. It's very, very important. You'll be thinking like, I haven't where I'll be using these trees, where I'll be using these graphs. You'll be using it. You just most of the time you'll not have the idea that you are using a hash map. If you are aware of the JavaScript, like I'm not going to go there too deep into tech. If you have used objects, it's nothing but an hash map. So you just don't know it yet. You have used it. If you have used any other technologies yet, they are useful. For 5% of who answered no, it's not important, you may want to concentrate on this part, especially. Data structures is not, it's most of the time it's being looked at as a fearsome concept. It's hard. How will I able to learn about the data structures? Then what students do is they take a book out from some guy written in 1990s, and they just start remembering everything. What is array? What is array? What is array? They start learning this. Don't do that. I just understand the concept. Arrays is nothing but a linear memory allocation, nothing else. Okay, so you don't need to be afraid of any data structure algorithm. And like that subtitle says, you don't also need to grow a beard to master the data structures and algorithm. It's really easy. What the things that you need to keep in mind is, I have noted some data structures and algorithms here. Of course, they are just scratching barely a surface of the DS and algorithms. There are much more, but generally what I would say is any interviewer would expect from you is knowing these data structures at least. What is an array? What's a stack? What's a queue? For those who are not from non-CS background, do not worry. These are just names. Okay, these are just basic names. Like just to give an example, tree is nothing but exactly like our tree, where there is one root and there are leaves and branches and so on. So you learn about it more when you start doing it. These are just scary names. I know they sound scary. They are really not. Trust me. And they are really relatable. Why the name tree was given? Because these structures are relatable to a really real life. So and they are really useful in whenever you are working on a project. So arrays, stacks, queues, trees are there, graphs, hash maps, and set. These are just few concepts you may wanna concentrate on. Okay, and they'll help you out. Trust me. Yeah. So then the last part comes when a journey to getting hired. Like once you have learned about the data structures, once you have learned about how to appear for interview, what comes next? The answer is pretty simple. Like what after that? What comes after that? I have learned all the data structures there are in the existence. I have learned all the things that are there. What comes after that? I have also practiced interviews so many number of times. So this is the part where, you can work on yourself. You can improve yourself. These are just additional skills. So remember, the skills matter. Skills define who you are in a programmer. Programming is, daily changing thing. It's not a constant. Laws were created. Let's say some law was created there in 1976. It will be the same law today itself. Laws don't change that consistently. Art doesn't change that consistently. There will be new flavors of art, but that's fine. Finance doesn't change that much, right? So these other technology is a bit different than that. Yesterday there was the Android KitKat 4.0. It feels like it was yesterday, right? Today we are on what, Android 12, 13? I don't even know. Technology is progressing so fast. You need to adopt with it. You need to adopt yourself with these quickly running technologies. If you want to be an Android developer, you should know what is the current skills that are required. Like, for example, Flutter is just one thing. React Native is just another thing. I'll talk about these things in upcoming slides. I have created a list of all these technologies for you. Yeah, so skills matter. Programming languages, learn more languages. No one is stopping you to just learn about one language and stop. JavaScript, I know JavaScript. I'm a JavaScript developer. It works for me. I learned JavaScript, but do I stop after that? No. All the languages you see on the left-hand side, except Swift, I know all of these languages. You'll feel like this sounds like really hard task. It's not. If you just master one language, all other languages in your entire world are literally kind of a copy paste of that language. Few things changes. That's why you can just blindly, once you have mastered one language, you can just sit on documentation of the second language and go through it in one day, and you'll have that language. You'll have that language kind of mastered. All that needs is start typing that language. It's as easy as that. Programming is not hard. All you need to pick one language, master it. That's it. I pick JavaScript because JavaScript exists everywhere. We do MERN-stack in Masai. So MERN-stack is nothing but a JavaScript kind of course. So MERN, if you aren't aware, MERN is Mongo, Express, React, and Node. All except Mongo, all three of them are JavaScript technologies, I would say. Okay, and tools. Tools will help you out in your day-to-day life. Git is something every single human should use in your daily life. It's not about programming. Git tells you how to version control. It doesn't matter if you are a chartered accountant, you should use it. Unfortunately, it is not that popular outside the technologies. If you are a designer, you should use it. Git is really, really amazing tool for every single person. It will help you organize your life entirely. Be familiar with the command line and ecosystem. Okay. Like if you feel like you want to get that hacker feel, like typing in fast, and you can just install Linux and start typing your code on terminal. It's a different feeling, but I wouldn't recommend until and unless you are comfortable with the command lines and all. The few things, I'm not going to go through all of the lists. The Docker and all those things are there, but the point is be familiar with the tools that help you remain the productive in your daily life. Okay, it will help you organize your life, and it will help you moving on to new technologies faster and faster. Vim and Emacs are just editor. It's a technical joke. If you understood, have a laugh. Glad I could crack it. And the last and most important part of this presentation is be active in the open source. So I'll launch a poll here. Can we have the poll? Yeah, please see if you can answer the question. It's a fun thing. Tell me if you can answer this, which is not a programming language. I'll hide this in case you are seeing the results. Okay, I'll give you, you have 1 minute, I guess. I'll take the Q&A later. So please, can everyone answer the poll? Yeah, I think we are 1 minute. Cool. So the poll was, which one of these is not a programming language? A lot of you answered Rust, Clojure, Docker are the options. Correct answer is Docker. Docker is the tool that I explained in the previous slide. You see here, Docker is the tool. You're giving concentration. You need Rust and Clojure are the programming languages. Clojure Lisp that runs on JVM. Nothing different, but that is okay. So open source. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the most important point here, called as open source. Open source is, for those who don't know, it's something that if you have created something, you make it available for public. You'll be like, if I do that, I'll just go poor. How will I earn money? It doesn't work like that. The open source works itself out, trust me. How this help you in the tech placement? It gives visibility. Okay, so this is my GitHub. So if I tell someone to if I'm appearing for interview, and if they give me some coding assignment, I can just tell them that I have done so many of better projects than this, that your Sudoku coding assignment. I have a lot of projects there on GitHub. Just go there and check. If they are really good company, they know what GitHub is. They will go there and they will check your projects. They will check how active you are in the community, and they will just skip that step. It happens. It doesn't. It's not necessary to happen with everyone, but it happens. It has happened with me. So just based on open source, and also with some of my friends. So just based on your open source open source existence, the companies tend to evaluate you. Okay, if you have good open source existence, they will be happy to have you, because usually open source developers do tend to know a bit more about technology. It's not necessary, but they are a bit more familiar with overall things. We have lots of open source developers in Masai. As an instructor, I'm glad to be a part of this community. And yeah, so open source, try contributing to open source. Regarding open source as well, I do have one more poll. Can we have the open source related poll? Do we? Okay, I'll just put it in chat. I don't think we have poll. I'll open the chat and put it in chat. Have you contributed to open source before this? Never? No. Yes. Okay, there was, I think, 2, 3, 4 yes. So no, yes. Now the next question: do you want to contribute to open source? Lots of yes. That's really glad to see. And you gotta trust me, it will work out for you. Just go there, create your account on GitHub, start playing around. Okay, you don't have to just immediately, as soon as you join, you don't have to create a new project and start contributing to it. That's fine. Just go around, look around how it works and all. You'll learn these things in depth. Don't worry about it. But it will give you visibility. If you give your visibility to the interviewers. Okay, so that was all for the presentation part of you. I have created one quick roadmap that I wanted to go through. This is nothing but it's called as mind map. Excuse me, just a sec. So it's called as a mind map, and how this helps us is I have categorized all the technologies that you may wanna master. You can say you may wanna just go through at least once, and I have categorized them based on their domain. Okay, so you can just go through. I'll share this link with you as well. Don't worry. For now, just concentrate here. You go through the languages, learn new languages like JavaScript, Go, Rust, upcoming languages, Python, Kotlin, Swift, anything else. Be familiarized. I've already talked about tools, right? GitHub. Docker, learn about what is a containerization, learn about shell commands and all. You don't need to master all three Windows operating system like Windows, Linux, and Mac. Pick one, master it. If you want to be an iOS developer for the entire career, you can just go ahead with the Mac. You may feel like MacBooks are costly. If I can't afford that, you don't need to have that. You can just learn JavaScript and have the desktop applications created on Linux for Mac. Works totally fine. Many companies do that. But you don't know it yet. You may have some misconception till now that only MacBook applications are created only on MacBook. Doesn't work like that. At least for today, maybe it was the case 10 years ago, I don't know. At least for today, you don't need to have a Mac to create MacBook applications. And the frameworks like React, Vue, Django, Fast API, Express, these are the frameworks that most of the companies tend to use. There are others as well, like Ruby on Rails and all. I can't possibly list out all the frameworks. I feel like these are the most important ones. I personally use Vue and React for the front end and Express for the back end. You can pick anyone you want, or multiples of like I use Vue and React. Okay, you can use anyone you want. There are domain wise. We have Android, iOS, Flutter, and React Native. You can just look into these technologies yourself. I'm not gonna dive too deep into them here. If you want to go into gaming, look into Unity 3D and Unreal Engine. There are some programming engines as well. These are visual engines. You can just drag and drop and create a game yourself. But there are things, if you are interested in programming more, there is an engine called Godot or Gado, however you call it. Security, IoT is there. Machine learning, if you are interested in machine learning, you can dive deep into TensorFlow or PyTorch. Okay, either of them. Okay, whenever you see these nodes, that means any one of them is fine. Okay, it applies everywhere. Any one of them is fine. You don't need to learn both of them. Databases, if you want to know more about the databases, pick Mongo or Postgres, MongoDB or Postgres, and learn more about it. Technologies, upcoming technologies. How many of you know what WASM is? No? A lot of you don't know. So it's and it's okay because it's an upcoming technology. Like I said, technology moves a lot faster than normal any other domains. WebAssembly, WASM stands for WebAssembly. It is nothing but sounds scary. It's not. It is nothing but running compiled code on web in short terms, if you want to say. So look into these technologies. These are upcoming technologies. So if you start now, you'll be there knowing about those technology when everyone rest of the companies are there, and you'll be the only person who knows about it. Of course, you don't want to start when the company wants company has the requirement of WebAssembly, right? You don't want to start at that point. You want to be ready for the when the company has a requirement of something new. Hey, I know about it. So when someone says, do you know microservices? I know. I have, because I practice it like years ago. And the last cloud is something that you may want to look at. Cloud will help you is with deployments and all. Whenever you create a website or application, how do you deploy it? So cloud comes into picture in that point. I can't talk more about it at the moment. I'll share this chart with you. If there's some change, I'll make sure to do that. But yeah, so that's all the things that I had to share from my side. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation.